In EU4, Sweden doesn't start free. In 1444, it's stuck in the Kalmar Union under the Danish crown, and that has to change. Sweden's goal is clear: fight for independence in the game as soon as possible. But there's a catch. With the current Swedish mission tree, we don't want to call in allies to help. Winning this war alone is harder, but if we pull it off, the rewards are huge for Sweden. Before we begin the war, we need to complete our initial missions because they offer massive buffs to us, which will come handy in the war against the Danes, Norwegians, and their potential allies. To complete the missions, we hire a military advisor, which is also great for our fighting capability. We also give 3 privileges to 2 states in order to get their backing. And here I chose to go with the 200 papal points, so we can get 1 stability, morale of armies, and when the war begins, proclaim holy war for the manpower recovery speed. You can also go with the 10 galleys, but in this campaign I feared Poland might ally with the Danes, so I needed more morale. I won't call the diet at this time because it'll increase estate influence, which in turn will give us less ground land once we win the war. We'll also ask the Teutons to support us just so we can get the mission from the mission tree completed, and then we'll cancel their support before we begin the war. With the help of burgher loans, I hired 2 mercenary companies. It's expensive because we are going over our force limit, but without allies we need to improve our fighting chance against Denmark and Norway as much as we can. As we get closer to the Swedish War of Independence, I stationed the Swedish armies close to Norway, so when the war starts we can rush to the capital and destroy their army before they move their army somewhere else. After that, we march down to Scandinavia to take out the Danish army before they can link up with allies and potentially become more dangerous. We'll also park our navy in Stockholm since we won't be using it much considering the power of the Danish navy at this stage. Through our mission tree, we also get Johan Vasa as our general, which is great. He'll also be king after the war once we win it. A few things before we begin the war. Let's delete the fort in Abu because it's really not that useful and we can save some ducats. And also get our diplomat to create a network in Denmark as well to help with our sieges. And with our troops up to the force limit, we get the Engelbert mission completed, which gives us a whooping 10k manpower. We get the stability increase and morale increase with our papal points. We then cancel the Teutonic support and go for the war. Before we declare the war, we march our troops to Norway, and once they are halfway to Norway, we declare the war. This makes sure that they arrive there earlier and the Norwegians aren't going away. As we expected, the Norwegian troops are completely surprised and we stack wipe them. Now it's time to ride south and get to the Danes before we begin sieging the forts. And we stack wipe their army as well in the Battle of Elfsborg and march south towards Scania. From here on, the fate of the war is almost guaranteed to be a Swedish victory, or so I thought. As we are sieging down Lund, the Danes and their allies amass a huge 20k army on the other side of the strait, waiting for their time to attack. Considering the -2 debuff they would get if they attack us due to their strait crossing, I thought they wouldn't actually attack, so I didn't put my main army alongside the sieging forces in Lund in order to save some manpower from attrition. But man, did they attack. Also, as the war rages on, our coastline got raided by the Gotlanders, adding to our already devastated provinces due to blockades. As the face-off over the strait with the Danes continues, the Danes brought in even more troops and actually began crossing to Lund. They land on the beaches of Lund with 23k troops, while we have about 14k in the area, as another 4k of ours is sieging down the Norwegian capital, and another 6k led by Johan Vasa himself is on a little mission to deal with Norwegian incursion on our northeastern provinces. In an act of desperation, we march our 5.7k troops down to Lund to help defend it alongside our other troops sieging there. This army is all that we could muster in the area, knowing that the 4k up in Oslo will probably arrive after the battle, and we want to win that siege as well. So it'll be our 14k against their 23k in the south. Despite being numerically smaller, we still have a shot of winning in Scania. We are counting on the Swedish quality of troops, the morale we got from the courier points, Swedish infantry combat ability, as well as the -2 debuff that the Danes will get for crossing the strait. Hopefully these are enough to win us this very decisive battle. The battle begins. It is actually looking not too bad for us considering our much smaller force, but it is still a very close call. The quality of our troops and the -2 debuff for the Danes is making this easier for us to the point that even if we lose it now, it won't be as harsh on us due to the inflicted damage to the other side. In the end, Sweden lost this battle, but the troops actually did well in battle despite the result, and the Swedish War of Independence is not lost. But just in case our capital gets sieged down and is occupied, we de-mouthball our navy so we can save it if that happens. And let's recall Johan to the capital so we can march back to Scania with a bigger force. The siege of Oslo is also going on, and once we win it, it'll help us with war score and will also free up some more troops to partake in the second march towards Scania. We consolidate our remaining troops from the Battle of Lund and wait till until they are joined by Johan's army and have more of their morale back. Luckily, we still have the fort in Kalmar between us and the Danish army, so we won't be stacked wiped after we lost the battle. With Johan's army joining the rest of the Swedish troops, the army is now more confident and marches out of Stockholm to face the Danes and their allies, one by one if possible. But the Danes and their allies see this and are quick to consolidate their troops on the siege of Elfsborg. We also gather our forces nearby and start preparing to lift the siege of Elfsborg. Once again, we are at a numerical disadvantage. We have around 14k and they have around 20k, so we need the troops from the siege of Oslo to join us fast. For now, let's wait for that siege to finish and hope that Elfsborg can hold out in the meanwhile. And boom, the siege is completed, and our mercs are free to march south and join the rest of the Swedish army to have a joint attack on the Danish forces besieging Elfsborg. Sweden is still at a numerical disadvantage even with our forces from Oslo, so the battle is close, but we win it at the end and get 7 war score and inflict a lot of casualties on the opposing side. With this battle secured, troops led by Johan Vasa once again march south toward Scania, chasing the Danes and starting the second siege of Lund. At the same time, we appoint an admiral to lead our small navy, aiming to score a quick victory over the navy of Holstein and lift the blockade of our capital. We win it easily, but as we are going back to ports, the Danish navy intercepts us, and due to their advantage, we lose this naval battle. We concede the Baltic to the Danes in this war, but that'll change once we have our economy sorted and can actually build ships. The Danes are desperately trying to turn the tide by sieging Oslo, so we send a battalion to stop them. We manage to stack wipe them again, putting us one step closer to securing Swedish independence. Now all that's left is to siege a few remaining Norwegian and Danish forts and provinces. Lund has been taken at last as well. Once we get Lund, we park our troops there to stop the Danes from crossing and also to preserve our manpower and let the mercs do the sieging. But the Danes again have amassed a 19k troop army on their capital. But this time we also have put more troops on our side of the strait, considering that they did cross when we had lower troops to stop them at Lund last time. Once we completely siege the forts, it is over for the Danes though, as we have enough war score to get almost all of our demands, including Swedish independence, Scania, and a huge chunk of Norway, as well as some ducats. We core our newly conquered provinces and complete our mission from the tree. But there's no time to rest, as King Vasa immediately has to turn east against the Novgorodians, while our economy heals and we pay back our loans and stabilize Sweden. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss the future Europa Universalis videos that are on the way. Thank you for watching.